technician came to set up the sound, but nothing works.
Okay. All right. 2, 1. All right, guys, welcome back. Welcome back. Okay, I don't feel myself. Can you? Yeah. Okay, how do you feel? Hello. How do you feel? Great. Very good. Sleepy a little bit. Okay, now comes the most exciting part, really pitching new ideas. You've been very hardly working on them for the last couple of hours, I guess, finishing the presentation and polishing everything, making the business model right, and also thinking about customers. And of course, we will now have a professional pitching session with an extraordinary jury, which will be evaluating your ideas. And to bring a little bit transparency into the process, of course not mentioning the criteria, but there will be 5 questions which have been evaluated or created by CNES, upon which you will be judged. And then we will sum up all the different points and numbers and evaluate basically the winner, the second prize, and the third prize. And then, as you know, we will have also a national competition, and the first prize and the winner from this hackathon in Berlin will also take part in a national competition, which is going to take place in June. So it's my pleasure now to introduce to all of you our jury. So you have seen them already yesterday in this document, but now they are here. So with us today is Milda Yasaite from Early Bird. She's an investment associate. So give a round of applause to Milda. Then we have Juliane Haupt, whom you already met yesterday from Berlin Partner. Also a round of applause for Juliane. Then we have Sebastian Fitko with us. He's a very experienced guy working with corporations and startups since 15 years. And give him also a round of applause. And of course, Alexandra Born from the German Aerospace and Space Institute, DLR. Also a round of applause. All right, so we are now going to start the pitching session. I'm handing over to my colleague from Epitech. He's going to explain how this works.
Hey, so you'll be, first, welcome everybody for a pitching session. You'll be all pitching in 5 minutes. You have a timer. At the end of the timer, you have a sound. When you have a little music, it's over. After this, you have 3 minutes of question and answers. And same thing, three minutes, and after that it's over, and there's a rollover. We're gonna go group after group by number. So first group, number 1, and so on. I'm very eager to listen to you all, and I think the jury is too, and well, let the pitching begin. So can we see group number 1, please? For the streaming.
Hello everybody, a very good afternoon, and we are team Park in Space, consisting of me, Ross, and my friend Johannes, and my friend Steven. I would tell you a small story. I had to go to the city center to visit a friend. When I reached the city center, I see something like this. I drove 25 minutes and I find no parking spot. I drive around another 25 minutes, I still find no parking spot. And finally, I drive back home, and after I drive back home, I have no more friends, I have no social life. So if only somebody in the sky could look down and tell me, like, if there is a parking spot somewhere, I could drive there. But that doesn't happen in real life. We don't have somebody in the sky who could tell us if there's a parking spot. Or maybe, do we? Comes in parked in. Parked in communicates data through your phone and web to tell you if you would find parking spots to an area you are traveling even before you are there. And then you could decide, maybe I could travel by public transport if I would need 30 minutes to find a parking spot. And we humans are greedy. We would ask more from parked in. Okay, so can you point me to a place where I can find a parking spot? Can you navigate me there? So parked in answers, yeah, but not right now. Maybe in some time we will surely be able to do that. Can I book a parking spot using your app? Yes and no. Yes in the future, no right now, but sure, we were working on that. And also, I have a parking spot in my basement. People need it. Can I rent it out to people using your app? Like, yes, of course. And how it's done? It's done through big data. We have a database of all the parking spots of a city. We map all the parking spots and create a database. We use satellite images and various other techniques to get data to map the parking spots. And then we need to constantly update that database to see if there are parking spots. We use live Earth images. We use machine learning and artificial intelligence to map. And we have various other techniques we could use to map the database to provide the user data if he could or she could find a parking spot. So this idea might sound good, but if it's financially not viable, then it's a bad idea. So we did some maths behind. So initially, we would need around 400,000 euros to hire developers and data scientists who could build up the entire system. And also, we would need service providers and partners who could provide us with live satellite data so that we could look down and find parking spots. And also, we could generate revenue by ads, specific ads. There's a parking spot in town. Who would like to use it? Use our app to recommend people. Also, we can have commissions from the rental service. What are the potentials of this? We organize a totally unorganized sector. Parking is totally unorganized. We can find violators, people who don't pay for parking and use parking spot easily. The city doesn't need to send out people to find parking spots, violators. We could provide analytics to business customers who could, like for example, Google, who could use our service to integrate it into their service like Google Maps. And also we could provide business solutions to people who are looking out to give out their parking spots to potential customers. So the conclusion is, this app helps people save money. An average German spends around 1,350 euros a year to just go around looking for parking spots. We save the environment. We save around 50 kilograms of carbon emission every year. We provide convenience to the customer. We also make money in that. So in the end, I would say, like after this hackathon, we came across to a very good idea, and we would like your feedbacks and questions. Thank you.
So, do you have questions?
Yes. So what do you think is the future of mobility in big cities? In cities of millions of, cities, yeah, like more than 1 million inhabitants.
Well, as the answer is self-explanatory, if we, even by introduction of UV, self-driving cars, this system also can be implemented. Those cars also need to go somewhere. So this system stays there even though the automatization of driving systems is happening now.
So how's the availability of data? What kind of data sources you using? Because in the end you're using data that data, and in the end you are making sense and money out of the data. So what kind of sources you need?
Well, basically, there are multiple sources that we are planning to use in order to achieve the greatest coverage. Our current level of coverage would be every 13 minutes, a new grid would be reset and reinformed. For that, we would use optical imagery, radar imagery, all different kinds of. We have options to buy it from the satellite companies that provide it via satellites. We have also from recently, we have some cheaper options like from companies that provide with weather balloons. They also they are considering certain area.
Have you a rough estimate what identification
for a certain
parking space would cost using all this type of imagery and data?
Well, the imagery from Landsat and Sentinel are available in open source. Like there was an image in our presentation that's available in open source. So like creating a database wouldn't cost much, but getting live updates into that database, that's a big challenge.
Yeah, so my biggest question is also around the business model. Basically, can you really be able to make any margin based on the cost that you need to be able to provide really real-time data of the parking spot? Because the moment it's not, it's, I don't know, 5 seconds outdated, it's maybe not so relevant anymore. So I think that's also a big question to me. And then another one is a little bit about the competition. Have you been able to look at the other companies who've been trying to solve this problem? Because it's quite an evident one. And have you learned anything from them? What do you think they did wrong that you can do right to really make a solution that will work?
Like we looked into different data channels. Like satellite might be one channel, but there are other channels. The best channel would be GPS that's fit into the cars. Like we get exact location and any time during the day without additional cost. So somehow if we could reward people like you use our app for free, but we use your GPS data in the cars. So that would be a very viable business model for both people and for the company. Apart from that, there are...
Sorry, it's Q&A is over.
Okay. Thank you.
Sorry. Thanks. Oh. Havis, it's down for next slide. So now we are going to welcome the group AllSpace. The speaker.
Hello, everybody. So I am Brennan Ludquity, and our team members are Hugh McClellan, Nick Smith, and Qian Lai, and we are Team AllSpace. I'm doing it. So, and we came up with business solutions for a star tracker that was recently patented by CNES, the French space agency. And a star tracker is an optical device that determines the position of stars and compares that position to a known map of stars and utilizes that comparison to determine your attitude and direction of the observer. And a traditional star tracker would be used with the night sky, and the most common application is for spacecraft attitude determination. What's unique about this newly patented device is it can be used in both daylight and night, opening doors to many other applications. To tell you a little bit more about the product, there are many technological advantages. This daylight star tracker can be used 24 hours a day around the entire globe. It is effective in the polar regions and the Arctic, where there is limited reliability and effectiveness of the existing GNSS systems. Here you can see the ground tracks of the satellites of all the major GNSS systems, and you can see that there's basically no coverage of the North Pole there. It's effective at both low and high altitudes. It does not emit any kind of signal. It doesn't rely on receiving any kind of signal, which brings a lot of appeal to military applications. And it also offers a lot of economic benefits. You don't require that additional infrastructure like satellites and ground stations. It can increase the efficiency and navigation of shipping vessels, particularly in the Arctic region. And it also allows for another method of autonomous navigation, which will be increasingly important in the future with the increase in automation. And there are several major markets that we would like to address with this product, and we would mainly like to focus on the commercial shipping industry. And we would mainly like to focus on the expanding Arctic shipping routes as well. And we think that provides an immense amount of opportunity with the amount of vessels, the sheer amount of vessels that are transporting cargo and containers. There are anywhere from 3,800 to 6,000 big container ships, and that's the biggest one. As well as there are many military craft. There are over 1,500 global military sea vessels and over 20,000 aircraft. And all of these vessels could potentially want to install this device. And lastly, we also see an opportunity in the space sector as well, particularly for UAVs or for drones and rovers, particularly on the moon and on Mars.
So the main market that we're trying to focus our project on is the Arctic market or the northern sea routes. When compared to the Suez Canal, you can save up to 1,000 nautical miles or an estimated 18 days per trip, which roughly estimates to 180,000 to 300,000 euros of fuel savings per voyage, which also relates to the emissions of carbon dioxide emitted, which would be reduced by 400 to 600 million tons per year. Regarding our product, we are estimating our product to cost around 20,000 to 30,000 per unit with a 10% market cap, which would revenue to 7.5 million to 12 million euros. Some examples here are the routes that could potentially open if the ice caps happen to melt in the near future, allowing for better and faster routes to travel in the north. Okay, another growth opportunity that we have, or growth markets, is the defense and space markets. For the defense or government markets, we've seen potential use in the military, especially the US Navy is currently now training their cadets in celestial navigation because of their over-reliance in GNSS. Another potential application is missile gyroscope calibrations. Regarding the space sector, we see potential applications on celestial body explorations where you can autonomously navigate a rover using this type of product. Our competition and risk analysis. Our competition, we currently have two institutes that are currently developing this type of product. One is Texan Enterprises and the other one is NASA. Another competition or potential competition could be the GNSS expansion in the polar regions with a high elliptical orbit. The risks that we see are mainly market-wise, which we highly depend on the expansion of the polar regions or polar routes. Technology-wise, we're looking at a cloud coverage that could potentially affect the wavelength that we use, which is from 0.9 to 2 micrometers. And the next steps, well, first of all, the milestone, we need to establish contact with Kinesis to structure how the patent is gonna work out. Second of all, secure partnership with core customers. Third, develop and validate our product with field validation and feedback from. Thank you.
If you say this can work as an extension or even a backup for GPS or GNSS, what kind of accuracy do you expect? And how is the reliability? I mean, if you have the star tracker, I guess you need visual line of sight or so.
Right.
How is the reliability of the sensor?
So common star trackers today, I think they measure the accuracy of the stars themselves within, I think it's like 0.1 arcsecond. Like David was saying, the main issue, and this is an issue that's going to have to be addressed through product development and understanding the envelope in which this works, is cloud coverage in the polar regions, right? If we have a clear line of sight through the clouds, or if they're very thin clouds like cirrus clouds, or there's no clouds, it'll be very highly accurate, at least according to what the patent says. But if you get thicker clouds, you have reduced wavelength penetration, and it becomes your reliability is reduced a little bit. It's the same as nighttime star tracker in that respect. Yes.
And you plan to license it, and you build your own business model with this license, and build this hardware, and then sell it to the clients. Why you? Why should you do that and not anybody else?
Well, I think we have a good, solid team. We're all space engineers. We have the product. The final product is going to be involving space applications. Will be involving software suites. We have a computer scientist. We have, and we're master's students. We're hopefully in the next few months we'll learn some things. We'll really be able to start drawing this and growing it. And I think we're also enthusiastic about it. I think it's something that we spend a lot of time and effort in thinking about this, and I think that.
And Nick has an MBA.
Okay.
Yeah.
So why are you better than the NASA?
NASA's doesn't work yet. They tested it out. They were using it specifically for stratospheric balloon applications, and they couldn't get it right, and so they're still working on it.
And they're a big, slow, bureaucratic
And have you done any calculations in terms of how much funding do you think you need until you can start going to market?
I think that's probably the next step. I think we need to understand what the relationship with Kinez looks like, and that patent structure, and really what kind of their willingness to work with us, and what kind of, because it said in the challenge that it would be a licensing operation.
We're over.
Okay.
Okay.
Again on my question.
I'm very sorry. The
Yeah,
rules.
I'll be first next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. The next team is going to be team number 6, SpaceVision. Who's speaking?
He's speaking.
For the this one for the next one.
Okay. So my name is Eduardo. I'll be presenting the SpaceVision for the SpaceVision team too. So our challenge is to propose a platform to be used for precision agriculture, a platform and a payload. So what's the motivation? Basically, we have a problem of growth of population, and eventually we have to deal with shortage of food. So we need to improve our efficiency for the crops. And in addition, precision agriculture could improve the yield of the crops, at the same time reducing water and fertilizer expenses. And this would bring would increase the margin for the producers. And this, since the agriculture would address those problems, it's also in alignment with the global goals from the United Nations. This is our broad overview. Our proposal is to cover this part of the spectrum, which is not very which has some very valuable data for agriculture, and it's not covered for common imaging satellites. So we would gather this data, centralize in a data storage, and we would do some data analysis, and we would provide to the agriculturists for free data for free suggestion on the cultivation of their crops. And this is how it would work for the agriculture. Basically, for the farmer, it's basically an app, which with suggestions. And these are some of the information you can gather and use it as from the thermal infrared and use it as input for your analysis. Okay.
Thank you, Eduardo. So like Eduardo mentioned, the biggest challenge which we'll be facing by 2050 is like increase in population by 9 billion. So we need to increase our productivity. We need to increase by 70%. So to achieve that, we need to opt new agriculture technologies. So to overcome these problems, we are using the satellite-based agriculture technology. Here, like we are providing data to farmers. It's free of cost. So obviously, if we are providing them free, we need to generate some revenue so that we can sustain our business. For that, we can ask government to pay for the business, and we can contact with companies, which will be our data users also. These companies can be mining or energy companies. They'll use our data. And also some companies which will sponsor us under CSR, which is corporate social responsibility. And with this data, we'll do the complete analysis of the data, and we'll provide this to the farmers. Farmers may make use of it, and in return, once we are completely stabilized with the business, we'll use the same data to generate revenue to the other industries as well. Like we can send it to Agriculture Research Institute, we can sell it to banks, insurance companies. So this way we can sponsor ourselves, like we can sustain ourselves in the industry. So our partner is Vidrona. They are ESA part. They are working for ESA. And they'll be helping us with the data processing algorithm. And these are the rough the rough cost, like the satellite development, how much it will cost. It will cost around 35 million euro, launch 16 million. So these are the rough data because we didn't have much knowledge and time to go through in detail. So this is it. And how will we contact with our customers? So we can, to reach remote areas, we can make use of local authorities, so because the farmers won't be having internet coverage. And to reach the sponsors, we can make use of our website. We can make use of social media. We can organize events, and by that we can communicate with them. We can sell our idea. We can convince them to invest in our business. So this is how it will work. Thank you. No, actually,
we just talked last night about this project, and
so the technical partnership is because you have a contact there, or
contact is.
Okay. We have more a concept, an idea than we developed during the competition, and we don't have concrete. It's a business idea.
That's the technical partner that you would imagine to partner up with. You just named it concretely.
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, that idea, I have one of my mentor. He works for ICARDA, which is Precision Agriculture Research Institute. So I had a bit idea about precision agriculture. Then when this event came, so we started thinking of why not we can make use of it. So from there we got the idea, and yes, we started doing thorough research in a very less span of time. That's why we made them short of it.
So we have more than 500 million small farmers in the world that are producing 80% of the food right now. And so how are you reaching out the first mile to those 500 million farmers to realize precision farming on their hands with a smartphone they don't have right now?
Yes, so we have, like in developed countries, farmers are generally using smartphones. They have access to internet. But if countries like India, Africa, they don't have much internet facilities. So what we can do, there is a central control unit we can provide our data to the central control unit, and we can ask them to convince the farmers to go and help them with decision making. We'll provide our data to them, and with the help of them, and we can also market ourselves. We can use market strategies to convince them how it will be helpful for the decision making. We can convince them to go for multiple farming instead of multi-layer farming instead of going for a single farming. So this kind of decision making and use of fertilizers, how much fertilizer they should use, and water. So these kind of decisions we can make use of local authorities. With the help of them, we can reach out to them.
Did you ready competition analysis?
Basically, the sensor is in a state of research. It's developing, so they don't have commercial products for them. The idea is for the private initiative to take the initiative of building those to provide what would be a very promising service in the future, and who manages to make it financially possible will be very in advance with respect to the others.
We can also, like the infrared camera, which multispectral camera, the bandwidth will be high, so high band will help us to map motorcycle.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Could the team Crater come here, please? Team 7, Crater. Please. Oh, it's not very good.
Sorry?
Crater.
Aren't you 7? You're 7, yes.
Yeah, okay, 7. Okay,
Yes.
Team 7. First slides. First one to go. Next one.
This is actually working.
It's for streaming.
Okay. Join us. It's okay. You will see us. It's fine. So we are actually by now Celestial. We are no longer called Crater. But what we do hasn't changed. We provide remote communication services. So recently there has been a lot of attention on the moon again. A lot of agencies, a lot of companies want to return to the moon, and there's always been a lot of interest in CubeSats, and also the combination of both. So, for example, ESA had a challenge to bring CubeSats to the moon, and this will give you a simple 2-minute online research. And also, if you follow the space scene, you will recognize this trend. And this is where Celestial comes in. So we're actually focusing on the moon, and we want to open up the moon for CubeSats. We want to do this by deploying an antenna on the moon, which will enable CubeSats to directly communicate to our antenna, and via our antenna back to Earth. And this will enable manufacturers or project managers or projects which send CubeSats to the moon basically to downgrade the antenna they will take on their CubeSats, and therefore enable them, free them up space and volume for their experiments. So also what we are doing is to go into the aspect of data analysis and mapping, which basically means we want to identify interesting spots on the moon which deal with, which address research, possibly mining, also paths between interesting spots and landing spots, and also in the future interesting spots for habitats, and maybe also rovers which are already located on the moon. And basically we want to map all of this out, and we want to connect all of this data to a more comprehensive overview of interesting spots on the moon. So now we want to take a closer look at our business model at first, at our roadmap, how we see this evolving. So in the beginning, within the next 2 years, we want to start out with data analysis and also infrastructure planning. And this does not necessarily have to be on the moon. We think it's much more feasible to start with this approach on Earth, actually. And then eventually, within the next decades, we want to reach our goals of making moon actually more accessible to CubeSats and other satellites, but actually deploying antenna.
and eventually also move in the sector of infrastructure design. So in this case, we would assist and help our clients to actually not only plan the infrastructure, but design the infrastructure and design their projects on the moon. And we picked a few highlights, important things out of our business model canvas. The first thing is customer relationships. So there will be a UI which allows our clients to select a service model for each individual data set. And there's different possible models. There's the simple model of transmission, and there's also the model that we perform data analysis on their data, which they gathered on their CubeSats from the moon, and we will transmit them the results. And we also want to enable communication between CubeSats, which will allow CubeSats to exchange data, which they might be interested in. Possible customers, or let's say, what's more important for us are partnerships. Partnerships with space entities and overall infrastructure providers, and also universities, where we can imagine to offer our services free to universities in exchange for their data, which allows us to also build a database and refine our algorithms. And at the financial side, we want to gain funding through competitions and programs, acceleration programs, incubation programs. We're also looking for sponsorships from our partners, and also especially want to make money with our service, our transmission-based service. So the technology, we already identified possible orbits for CubeSats based on NASA missions, and also the antenna technology is public. There's not a new technology that needs to be developed. It basically needs to adjust it to our purpose. And our next steps, so what we're basically looking for is deployable ICT, IP, so partners that help us deploy their tech, looking for launch options and also market outreach. But what's most important to us is actually finding opportunities to start this service on Earth. For example, we could offer this for drones which fly over remote disaster areas. Maybe some underwater options are also present. There's many possible options. I also want to continue talking to some of the companies we already talked to yesterday to further validate our model. Thank you.
So how quick do you think you can start generating revenue streams, basically? So you've shown the roadmap, but in terms of like the revenue streams coming up, how quick do you think that can happen?
I think initially we are starting our services here on the Earth. Just to actually, this will serve us dual purpose. First of all, this will show our competency to analyze the data that we are capable of doing this thing. And the second of all, we will have some potential customers to show our examples, our success stories. And thirdly, we will have some data, like money generated for ourselves to help ourselves. Yeah. Any other question?
Why are you going to make it happen?
Yeah, actually, this is a good question. Actually, we want this to happen because as a university student, we are always told that CubeSat should circle around the Earth. We just want to break the barrier. Yeah, I mean, we should dream, like, students can go to the moon. That's it.
What is your dream about the idea and the money output you want to make from it? So what do you expect?
Expect in terms of?
In terms of the money you can make with this idea.
I think right now what you see as a navigation on here on Earth, I think this thing could be a navigation on the moon and later on the Mars to anywhere. Like we can duplicate the model, It will be our first step into the space, and I think it will go longer on, There will be further developments into it. And the another thing is like whichever projects will follow, they will have the opportunity to leave their antennas behind and take more payload, and yeah, it's a more successful view to explore space itself. That's what I see. Yeah, you want to add something? Yeah, fine.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Icarus Skywalker, yep, group 8. Down button for next.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Please speak into mic. Who's speaking?
Me, for a bit and then. Yeah. Alright, hello everyone. We're Icarus Skywalkers. So we chose Airbus 6.0, and the problem in this thing was that an asteroid is coming to Earth, and there's a 1% chance that we'll all die. So what do we do in this case? The only logical thing to do is contact the one person who's done this before, Bruce Willis. But in the off chance that he's not available, we have to come up with a contingency plan. And the contingency plan is to send our satellite, Steven Tyler, to the asteroid and send a lander down to the asteroid, to the asteroid, Bruce Willis, who's going to do what Bruce Willis does best, yippee-ki-yay. And we have a video demonstration for you. I'll hand over to Sebastian for the tech part.
Thanks, Maharshi. Thank you very much. This asteroid is a big boy. It's a 10-kilometer diameter, probably a C-type asteroid. So we have two options. Evacuate, which is, from our point of view, very unreasonable. Or we can join forces and fight for Earth and try to blast these bad boys. So we're going to use a satellite. We're going to deploy it from Earth. We're going to use a hyperbolic orbit to leave the Earth's sphere of influence, use an interplanetary orbit to reach Mars' sphere of influence, and use it as a gravity push so we can reach the blue orbit. That is the final satellite orbit, excuse me. So our satellite, which is called Steven, of course, will deploy Bruce, our lander, into the asteroid. So Steven will remain in its orbit, observing, thanks to the payload that it will contain, spectrometer, camera, plasma antenna, and our lander will have a detonator and instrumentation to measure and capture data. This detonation could be performed based on a decision. This decision is based on a safe distance. So if we actually see that the asteroid is going to definitely hit the Earth, we will detonate earlier. If not, we'll just keep measuring and detonate anyway, because we want to observe what happens if we deflect an asteroid. With this data, we will do some things that Laura...
Yeah, let's talk about our business plan. So actually, we are proposing to you an entire mission for saving Earth from an asteroid impact. But there's only 1% of possibility that this asteroid will impact the Earth. So you know, life is important, but also money. And why don't take advantage of it? So our mission, our business model is based to receive money from public companies and private companies. What we can give them back, data, of course. Data is fundamental for public companies because they can have space exploration, deep space exploration, availability of new technology, and many other things. And the private companies can have this data, and are also fundamental for the private companies because they can build their own business plan on it. Asteroids are a really powerful resource of materials and minerals, and yeah, you can find whatever you want. I mean, there's rare earth, metals, and whatever. And if the private company with our data would build a business plan, their business plan on it, they can earn something like 200 million per asteroid. So I will let you imagine how many asteroids they can mine and how many money they can earn. Have we experience of it? So is it feasible or not? Yes, it is, because the mission statement is in 10 years long, and we already have Rosetta mission done from NASA, and we are waiting also for Hayabusa 2 in June of this year. So is it feasible? Yes, it is, because we have an heritage of it. And I'm sure that our guys will successfully accomplish the mission. So I, Carol Skywalker, and Bruce Willis, all the others, really thank you for the attention. That's all.
Do you have any questions?
So, please say an example of potential customer who would pay for it.
So if you are a sorry, if you are a public company such as government,
Tell me an example of a public company who would pay for it.
NASA, for example,
Okay.
ESA, JAXA, NATO. Private company could be SpaceX, planetary exploration, for example. And in 10 years, I guess also many startups will grow, and they can also invest. I mean, it's not only one private company has to invest all the capital, because data can be also shared, and it depends how many efforts, so in terms of money, they invest in our payload.
Can you tell more about your team? Who would have which responsibilities?
So yes, we all together decide the entire mission. So everyone give the contribution of it. Tushar, Shashank, and I make a kind of budget and estimation of the entire cost of the mission. And me and Sebastian estimated the trajectory, so the delta V required for escape from a sphere of influence of Earth and entering in Mars flyby to have more velocity and reduce the cost and go then to the asteroid and blah, blah, blah of the mission. And Maharshi is our... He's the video maker and the one that really catch the attention of everything. And also, no, I mean the contribution, because the nuclear bomb is up to Maharshi, and so he's the idea to testing it.
At first, but actually, yeah, our satellite should be like very, very heavy to actually deviate an asteroid. So we definitely need some explosive device. And
From my research, what I found was the only two possible ways to do deflection would be either to crash the lander itself, which would make a render us not to be able to do anything else, and then a nuclear detonation is possible, and then the other one is orbital kinetic strike, which would use tungsten rods, but those are way too heavy. Like each rod is like 8 tons, and that would just increase the cost of the mission entirely. So yeah.
So really, everyone puts his efforts.
I think you should go and pitch it to Elon Musk.
Wait. Yeah, I did tweet at him, asking how much he would invest into a project like this, but he never replied, unfortunately.
We also talked about a video game on it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, sorry.
All right, thank you.
Do you have a remote? Oh, thanks a lot for this presentation. Next group is going to be Spacers, group number 14. Yep. Are you going to talk? Who's presenting? It's the down button for next slide.
All right.
Hi, so we are Spacers, and we developed an idea called tractors.
Right. So a quick question to you guys. Who is your constant companion? Or rather, what is your constant companion? Perfect. The mobile. Right? You're always on it for either business purposes or personal purposes. And even sometimes you're texting each other while eating as well. So just concentrating on the Western Europe bit, there are about 280 million smartphone users currently in Western Europe, and the number always constantly keeps increasing, going up to 125 million past year. 51% of them have insurance, so basically a little less than half don't have insurance. And 35% of them never ever find their phone back. And using this same statistical data, it's about, 65% of them never find it back. And using the same statistical data, the ones who don't have insurance, it's about 32% of people who don't really have insurance and have actually lost their phone. So what if we find the phone even if the SIM card has been removed or the phone's battery's gone off? Also locate them while saving your data privacy, which is a massive thing right now given the whole Facebook issue that just blew up. So our business model here is that we are going to fetch data from Argos, which is the satellite division, the satellite company from CNES, the French space division. And we are also going to tie up with mobile manufacturers to in hand with Argos, build a small GPS device, a small GPS chip to be integrated inside your mobile phone. And this will in turn help someone to track their phone whenever it's lost. And that will only happen through the insurance company, which is going to be our main customer in this particular source. How we're going to work that through is, in the beginning, we're going to build the prototype in hand with Argos, reach the mobile companies to see if we can integrate it, and also get the licensing from Argos to have the GPS chip and also get the data from the GPS chip to be able to circulate to the insurance company to find the phones, and then provide the data when requested. For the project plan, at the very beginning, for the third and the fourth quarter that's coming up right now, we plan to develop the prototype and go into product development. Sometime in the middle of next year, we plan to do the pilot phase of this particular product and launch the product in 1 year's time from today. And this will probably cost an approximate of a little over €500,000. How we're going to get our revenue up? We are going to charge the insurance company, which is our customer, per user revenue based, and that's the yearly cost that is mentioned down there. And we project that we're probably going to start in the first state itself with, say, about 30,000 users. And then once this gets more popular amongst the insurance companies and also the mobile companies, we probably project by the year 2022, we'll have an approximate revenue of about €96 million. Our offer is, for that particular investment, we offer about 10.5% of the company. And the dividend strategy is obviously going to depend on the market analysis. And considering that we are currently probably the sole company who are offering this particular state, we'll probably have a high stand potential. There's also an exit strategy that we designed where we can probably sell this idea to either the big mobile manufacturer players like Apple or Samsung, or also the insurance companies like GetSafe, or mobile companies like T-Mobile. Future prospects of this particular idea can also be using the same chip to either put it in renting gadgets or renting cars, help in search and rescue for mountaineers and scuba divers, put it in bikes because there are a lot of bicycle stealing that happens all the time, or also courier packages, and sometime in the future also inside humans to track them. Thank you. Questions?
So are you using anything for your phones individually actually to track them when
Well, since there are different companies that do provide, but then in this particular case, we don't use any of the internet services. We don't use any of the GSM services. This is a standalone service that the consumer will never have the access to. So your data is protected that way. Argos will only be the company who has access to that particular data, which will always be protected in their servers. And we can only access it upon request from the consumer to the insurance company through a formal legal chain, of course.
What if your smartphone is running out of battery?
So the smartphone needs a particular amount of voltage for the battery, right? But then these small little devices, they take really minimal amount of voltage. So, and they're going to be directly powered from the phone's battery. Besides, we also check that the small GPS devices that they have, which is a size of
They currently have their devices weighing from 2 grams to 3.5 grams, and they have devices supporting with solar. There is a possibility of solar charging those devices as well. So, and they consume minimal power and last longer. And this is the device developed by ours.
And in case your battery runs out, there is still a minimum amount of charge left in the battery, and since it's hardwired on the PCB, it still keeps on running. And in case if it's stolen and the thief kind of turns it off for some time, but to sell it out, someone would actually insert the battery again and use it. So that's the moment when we can charge them. That's a special case.
So all my data is in the cloud, and when I lose my phone, I get a new one and start it right from where I lost it. So
well,
as an insurance company, you if you got insurance from an insurance company, the company has to pay give you a new phone if you lose it.
Yeah.
So what we do is we are trying to reduce their losses, where the phone can be found and retrieved back. So the number of losses they have is reduced by a big margin.
Why should the phone companies implement such a chip?
it can be one of their unique selling points as well, that your phone, even if get lost, can always be tracked.
Without the GSM service, it can still be tracked.
And the catch here is the insurance company which give you the new phone is not exactly brand new, it's a refurbished model, which they openly mention it in the terms and conditions. So here you have a chance to get your own phone back.
So why you, if you have some seconds left?
Why us? Because we got the plan up. That's why. No problem.
Now is group 15, QT Space. Oops, I always say.
Sorry, I didn't. Excuse me. Oh no, wait. I didn't get that.
Oh yeah, sorry.
pointer.
There's a down button for next one.
Okay. Thank you.
When you're ready.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm ready. So, hi everyone. Today we are pitching about the quantum technologies. So our team name is QT Space. So our challenge will be on the Airbus new payloads for developing for the next generation of navigation satellites. So we're gonna say like our background. I'm doing my thesis in quantum technology as well as the space developing a payload. So it's basically I know how it deals with the quantum things and the clocks works. So I'm making this in the space application and making the TRL more. So I'm having a very good team because we have a machine analysis expert and physicist, optical sciences, and the payload engineering. So we are like a broad spectrum. So we know we deal with what is happening in the future. So yeah. So okay, we are there is a broad spectrum in the quantum technology, but we are only deals with the quantum clocks. The quantum clocks. Why we require the quantum clocks? Because in navigational satellites, the clocks are more important. And you know that there are like several missions have been failed due to the clocks or the drifting or more. So it's like lots of money has been failed. So the quantum technology can replace from the cesium and rubidium atoms to a quantum transition rubidium spectrum line. So the thing is, till now we reached the TRL of 5, because currently the BEC experiment in ISS has been launched over there, and yeah, they're like we are going like next generation will be like quantum technology. So the accuracy. So see, there will be like a evolution, because quantum even the key distribution, the highly encrypted data can be done only on the quantum communications. So it will be the next boom sector, because of the few countries from Chinese also they done the experiment and they got good results also. So today we are going to application. For example, why we are using the more precise thing, because for example for automation driving system we require a more accuracy and at more faster rate without using any post-processing data, because with this with the using of clocks we can go for 50% reaction time. And one more application will be the airline industry. The operational cost will be reduced, because we can giving the more accuracies and optimization of the routes, and we can cut down the fuels. By then we will cut down the carbon emission a lot. And for the geological missions and natural calamities, we need to have detect even a millimeter of this sensing systems, because it have to be give data fast to the data center or some organizing event to alert or maybe giving awareness to the people. You need to move away from the thing. So my friend John will explain about the business model, how we make the stuff. Yeah.
So basically, you have seen now how we go around like the purpose of these quantum clocks. So I do need them. So now next step is like, how are we going to set up this business? How are we going to finance this? So first we did, of course, a market analysis. We looked at the existing atomic clock market. This is for the satellite industry. It's 150 million euros. And we estimated, because this is a really disruptive technology, having like a better order of magnitude and precision, that we would capture 50% of the market within like a 5 years time span. Also, to validate that the market is good to step into, is that we looked at the global satellite industry. It's growing, we know that, and so we also expect the atomic clock market to be growing. And the last one, which is really also important, is looking at the quantum industry, because we want to start with quantum clocks, but we want to expand further to other products such as quantum sensors, etc. Of course, next to these markets, we also looked at competitors. Basically, we have right now at Berlin the highest TRL level, so we don't really have good competitors at this level for the atomic clocks. However, we have for others some other quantum applications. As for customer validation, we also know internally from ESA that they are really investing right now in quantum technology, especially in the next 5 to 10 years. They want to spend more than a few billions. So how we're gonna start up actually the company. So after we graduate, hopefully in 2019, we go to Airbus and we ask for the funds for the payload. Then we want to start raising the TRL, because it okay, but I can, okay. Yeah. Please, any questions?
Yeah, I'm doing research on 2-photon rubidium spectrum transition line in the Humboldt University under the professor of Marcus Groups. So I'm making a payload for a mission of Queen. It will be launched in a couple of years. So we're testing the TRL 5 to 6, because they already done the I done few component level validation so far. It was successfully done, and the previous missions like sounding rocket, Rexus, recently the Jokeles mission from the sounding rocket, they have you understand technical. So that's what in the beginning we said, like we will increase the GRL level from 5 or 6 to the 9 to make more sophisticated risk-free quantum clocks. So for that, at least for doing 2 or 3 machines or maybe 1 machine, because already the other groups from the other from various countries they are already doing. But maybe we can tie up with some group, like some group scientists, so we can increase GRL from 6 to 9, so we can that's what. So having some one machine. So that's what we said. Initially, we will launch in a CubeSat of a machine, so we can validate the experimental results and the risk analysis, everything. So from that, we can jump into a big commercial way. Yeah.
So it's a very new technology and it has shown a very good results compared to cesium clocks. So it has a accuracy of around 10 power minus 18 frequency bits. So it has shown more accurate than the cesium clocks as of now. So and the times the separation between the ground station and the ISS module, it was around picoseconds difference. So it showed best results until now, and you will be saying 5 years this will be the clock. I mean these are the clocks which will every sensor.
Did I understand correctly? Berlin has the highest TRL level in comparison to the other.
Yes.
How much are you involved in this?
Okay. At the moment, I was involved to make some payload design and validation the component level. So that was my part. So because there's our physicists and engineers, we are like space engineers, so we need to qualify according to the ESA standard and space qualification. The component levels in the Berlin itself having a lot of like Berliner glass and Optica, like a group of ESA. So they have some parts, but we need to make them good. So that's what. Maybe we have expertise in Berlin itself. So that's what we said.
Group 17, please. Thank you very much. Of LiveSat.
Sur ce bouton pour la prochaine. Ce bouton pour la prochaine slide, celui du bas.
We have a web application that we want to show at the end of the presentation. So we just need to change the beamer to his laptop.
We are working together right now to set it up.
Okay. Because if we start now, maybe
wait, let's wait a second. We have two minutes spare for installing. Just gonna set this up right now. Who's going to speak?
Me.
It's for the stream. It's for the stream. Streaming. Live stream the event.
Excuse me. Tu as dit c'est
La flèche du bas.
La flèche du bas.
On va passer à la prochaine diapo.
Ok. La flèche du bas, c'est pour passer au prochain. Donc quand on va te passer ça, tu regardes juste la flèche du bas et puis tu passes au prochain. Ladies and gentlemen, member of the jury, good afternoon. What you see there is a big revolution in the sense of mitigating, monitoring and planning the formation of buildings and infrastructure in a large scale in urban area. And this is is the city of Berlin, where you can see the tomogram that are the 3D point cloud of the city that we can use to reconstruct any building, and in order to reduce the impact of man-made or natural hazard disaster. Here, unfortunately, in 2009, we didn't have such a tool. So you can see the city archive of Cologne collapsing when they were building the U-Bahn and causing like loss of people, and then direct damage, cost, and also secondary effect. The same year, we had such a things in Italy, where almost 300 people lose their life, and then we have something like 16 billions of loss. But with the deformation using Tomoza, we will be able then to monitor and to plan these kinds of stuff and to mitigate it.
So right now, deformation monitoring is made manually, and it's small scale. It's I mean, it's cost intensive, labor intensive, and you don't get the contextual information. So sometimes it's hard to, I mean, sometimes you need that information to interpret a deformation event. So what we're proposing is to use a technique which is called Tomosar to measure deformation on a large scale. The principal idea is to use an image stack of radar images to extract a highly accurate 3D point cloud. And using a time series of these point clouds, we can then measure deformation in 3 directions. These are some other techniques that are used. So while Tomosar doesn't get the accuracy that we get with GPS, for example, we can cover a much higher area. So our proposal is to use this technique to monitor large deformation on a large scale, identify anomalies in structures that are maybe not yet observed, and then use small-scale techniques to look at these particular points of interest. So refine radar data with other techniques, integrate them to get a real-time coverage. These are some structures that might be interesting. I will just skip over this. Right now, around 1% of construction costs goes into structural health monitoring and deformation monitoring. This may not sound a lot, but if we can bring that cost down, it can be of great benefit, for example, to these big construction companies. But our proposed method might also be interesting for public sectors. The city of Berlin, for example, needs to know how it needs to monitor its infrastructure, etc. How are we going to reach our customers? We propose a web portal where our customers can see in real time how their buildings are, like if there's deformation, and if the deformation depasses a certain threshold, there will be an automatic warning to the customer. So this is the building that we are in right now. And we created this to show how it's going to look like in the end.
So you add the point cloud or green when everything is all right, and the red point signifies that you have a displacement, which is up to the threshold we defined, and you can compare all the points of your building.
Okay, so right now there's a deformation in this building, as you can see. So I would propose we all leave as soon as possible. Okay. Thank you very much.
What's your business model? How you want to monetize that?
Our business model is to propose this web portal to construction companies and public entities. The construction companies are already doing that, but they're using manual methods to do
proposing is more large scale, and it can help them. Well, if you want the really high precision, you still need to use some manual methods, but we can complement these methods by giving some contextual information, and also identifying structures that are not yet monitored, where we need to monitor it. Yeah, because not, of course, not every house is monitored, but we can achieve that. Is your accuracy? Is yours? It's in the millimeter range. And it's real time? Not with Tomosar, but if we integrate the different methods, we can get a real time coverage.
How far are you integrated with it?
I mean, Tomosar already exists, and what you've shown in the beginning was an image from the DLR. So they've already done that, they've already tested that. Right now there is a lot of development in that sector to get more precise, and yeah. So
how do you deal with different type of buildings? For example, if you're having a huge tower, the tower has to move in the wind, and so you have transformation of the building. And if you're having a small one that is built, I don't know, 2,000 years ago out of brick and mortar, probably it's going to collapse when something is making that. Yeah, and so how do you deal with that?
That's what I meant when I said contextual information, amongst other things. If we have a time series of observations, we can then see, okay, these are the seasonal variations that we get, for example, from material heating, cooling, and so on, and we can deduct them from our observations.
So can you give some examples how much the clients are willing to pay for this?
So as I said, around 1% of construction costs goes into this. So let's say you're building a structure that's 40 million, then that would be, I don't know, 400,000.
Do you know how big the costs are currently? How big the costs are now?
To the manual?
Yeah.
Yeah, 1% of construction.
So it's now 1%.
Yes.
And you also want 1%.
No, this will be cheap.
Because it would be just an application, not the license to use the application, and to track the area of interest we would like to have. And then they will be able for example, for some crucial buildings with some grades that we have an information that is higher than the threshold that is set, and it's crucial to take care about this building.
Thanks. Thank you very much. Let's get our last team, TIS.
Who is the speaker?
He's the first speaker and the second speaker.
It's the down button for next slide.
Okay.
Down button for next slide. Please speak into the mic.
Sure.
For the streaming.
Yeah, sure.
Just a look at me when I need to change the slide.
Oh, okay. Okay, sure.
Excuse me.
Yeah, no problem. Sure. Yeah. Let's start it. Sorry. Is this working? Is the microphone working?
It's only for the streaming.
Okay, only for the streaming. Okay, thank you very much then. Okay, then hello everyone. This is Shankar, Dave, Manish, and I myself am Antal. I would like to present our business idea today. So let me introduce telecommunication as a service. Now, first, I would like to just say that right now I am studying in Berlin, but I would like to also keep in touch with my family. So from time to time, I'm just conducting a couple of Skype calls. There are difficulties with Skype and connectivity here. So there are failing situations when it might also happen that I am missing on a couple of cooking advices from my mother. Now, I had to ask myself, why exactly is it so? So I had to look at the challenges of what the telecommunication industry is facing right now. There are quite a few. Just to name a very specific example, Deutsche Telekom in 2017 had a net debt of 52.8 million euros. That's quite a hard situation, isn't it? We also had to ask ourselves, however, how can we make the telecommunication companies more profitable? In order to answer this, we also had to look at a couple of trends which are in focus nowadays. Just to name a few, we have had a look at satellite constellations. An example for them is OneWeb having operational satellites up in the air, around 900 already. We could leverage these ones, as well as we could also leverage high-altitude pseudo-satellites, to which an example is provided by Airbus, that is called Zephyr. Now, in order to go on with our idea, I would like to give the word to Shankar.
Thank you. Yeah. So having had a close look at how the telecom companies work, we understood that the key enabler which keeps them afloat is their curse as well. And that is the big, ugly telecom task. So we want to get rid of it. So we would like to use rapid deployment network as telecommunication payload on high-altitude stratospheric aircraft like Zephyr, coupled with satellite back channel to completely deploy and host the telecom network up in the skies. Next slide, please. So the telecom companies can think of us as tower management companies. So among other key activities, we will develop and produce this key payload which can be hosted on the stratospheric aircraft to make this possible. And we'll also manage the positioning of these drones to maximize and optimize the network, because the towers in the sky will no longer be static. Next slide. So with us, there's no need to break the bank to lease land for towers. All you need is just spectrum. You can scale much faster into newer geography. You can scale much faster to add more capacity. On top of all that, should disaster strike, your phones will keep working and the telecom towers will keep operating. Next slide. We made some small progress with the idea. We are EIT Digital Master School students, so we are discussing with them. EIT Digital has pioneered a rapid deployable network technology. We have worked for Project Alpha Link, who are a stratospheric aircraft manufacturer. We helped develop use cases for them. And through the EIT Digital Network, we were also made initial contact with Airbus. The idea we see today was revised based on their technology input. And our key focus, of course, is to somehow get customers. And we have a small roadmap in mind to achieve that. The basic idea is that once we get seed capital, we will leverage our relationship with Alpha Link and EIT Digital to arrive at a minimal prototype. With that, we'll be able to talk to satellite companies to arrive at a more functional prototype. And at that stage, we might be able to make contact with telecom companies to show that our technology works. And from there, hopefully, we'll be able to acquire a first customer for at least a pilot project. And that is the roadmap that we have in mind. The pricing for our service at the moment is very tough to ascertain. And we hope to achieve that while we develop the technology, while we are partnering with these key players. And that is our idea. And yeah, time for your questions.
Maybe to understand technology better. So what's necessary, a rough estimate of an investment to serve a city like Berlin with reliable 5G comparable network capacities with your solution?
5G has a combination of MIMO technology and also the main task. As far as say 4G is concerned, maybe 1 or 2 Zephyrs is enough. With 5G, you will still need nodes placed in individual households. So we can't change that part of the technology, but the existing 4G infrastructure could be repurposed for 5G. So we could do the same thing, and we could take care of one big chunk of that deployment. So I think a couple of 2 Airbus Zephyrs will be enough to cover the geographic area of urban Berlin.
Your business model will be like a Cisco or an Ericsson, so
similar to Ericsson and Cisco. You as telecom talk to us. We talk to the satellite providers. We talk to Zephyr. We talk to everyone else.
Can you tell a bit more about your team, so each member, a little bit of background?
Yes, all of us are from the EIT Digital Master School. I'll be specializing in cyber physical systems. Antal is specialized in cloud computing, and I think
I'm specializing in IoT and simultaneously with like low powered sensors as well.
I'll be specializing in real-time systems, so middleware, OS, and all that.
What are the biggest barriers you could encounter during your process?
biggest barriers, I think seed capital would be a barrier because the technology isn't, say, exactly open source. I mean, we can't, we have to talk to a satellite company initially to show that the prototype is working. There are ways to go around it, but I think the biggest barrier would be that to gain trust of a telecom company. And I think that's the biggest barrier. So once we have a pilot project, if we can show that it works for, say, this particular small area in Berlin, then maybe we can gain their trust. Anyone else have any other questions?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So thank you very much. Everybody's pitched his presentation. Now there's going to be the jury deliberation, so it's going to last 1 hour. Should be enough. And after that, we're going to... So yeah, after that, you're going to get your response. So please come back in this room in 1 hour for the results. Thank you.
Hariki-Maschine, wirklich eine sehr, naja, traditionelle, wird einzukommen, ist ganz schwierig. Und es hilft eigentlich nichts, man muss immer überall mögliche Gremien gehen. Ich muss jetzt mal ein Announcement machen. Genau, also darüber kann man sich gerne unterhalten.
So, first of all, I guess from all the organizers, a big thank you to all of you, and congratulations that you actually made it, and you are still here. So, give yourself a big round of applause. Okay, as you saw, the competition was very high, a lot of great ideas, and we have, of course, picked 3 winners for the day, the first, the second, and the third, because we think all of you are winners, so because you participated in this really exciting initiative. And now I'm going to announce each of the winners, I say, because all of you are winners today, but some of them are more winners and less winners anyway. So there's a first prize, second prize, and third prize. And I'm going also to ask the jury to explain why they have been picking you, and also to give you some feedback, because we would really like to you continue on working on these ideas. All of them have been very specific in their specific area, and all of them have potential to actually become a business. So we would like to encourage you really to think about this and stick as a team together and work on that. And we also think how we might help you during this journey. Now, the third prize, the third winner, let's call it like this, is Icarus Skywalker.
Setting something up, yeah, and then believing something and thinking bold, and you obviously thought very bold, yeah, and I really like that. So you need a team to make things become alive, yeah, and I believe in you that you can set something up, and that's really. Thank you. Thank you.
Not just because I feel like we will be free to challenge each other, discuss things, and usually, go forward in that way, but also because it's very important what kind of talent you can attract to help you move forward as well. And I think team is very important. Like, you have to be a good team so that you can also attract that talent. So I think from that side, it's also a very positive thing. But as everyone said, now you have to go forward and deliver
course we have. Also for me, it was like as a team, and also with the great marketing. I mean, the concept, the ideas, the presentation was brilliant. The idea is crazy. So I'm with you, and I wish you the best, all the best, and I think it could work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can you show the paper? Thank you. One. One more. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Now the second winner is Earth LifeSat. Earth LifeSat, also called TomorrowSat. Ah, they are coming.
So also some feedback.
So again, to start with the little, not that positive thing, I think it's not that innovative what you are planning, but I think you have the best business case. I really believe in that you can make a business out of it, and if you continue and you go on and you stay on and you develop it and you develop it further, I think you can make something out of it, and you can orientate maybe also on LIGO. You've seen yesterday, and you know them, and I think there's a great opportunity to make something out of it.
I also see the I also can see the potential, business potential, so to say. Yeah, but you have to work on that and think now, okay, what are my clients? Yeah, and then figuring out how to pilot your idea. Yeah, and showing that you are really creating value that you are now promising. Yeah, and if you can do that and finding your first customer, so to say, that want to work with you and test your methodologies to make, so to say, life easier for them, then you have a business case and then go forward.
Yeah, so I think we had quite a consensus here, so not too much to add. I also think that you are the closest to being ready to go to the market, and then also already having an idea of what does your customer want and how much would they be willing to pay and what are the pain points you're really solving for them. So I think that was a big differentiator why we wanted to evaluate you for the second place. So I think that's kind of the main point also for me.
To add that many points, only one thing. I'm a geodesist, so I'm very known and worked a lot of years in the sector, and also measured a lot of this movement monitoring, deformation. Proof that the technology works, and for especially if you go into more real-time scenarios, then it will be a really add-on value, but prove that the technology won't. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Now we have the first prize, the first winner. And the winner is it's Quantum Space.
Good job.
it is very innovative what you are developing and what you are working on. I think your project has the biggest impact on several sectors, so not only on one thing, but also on really diverse sectors. I really like, so good luck, and I think, and I hope you see you in Berlin.
Thank you.
Same here. So the business potential I obviously see, yeah. And what I like is you presented also like a team that has some experience in the field, yeah. Because then I can believe that you can make things happen here. That's really important. Not just talking about something exciting, but you already have some experience. That was important for me, yeah. And now think about what piece is missing in your team. Yeah, so what kind of skill is missing to drive things forward into the right direction, yeah, and not stick only to your part you like to work in, yeah, because otherwise we're going to fail.
Yeah, so a little bit to add, I think also that what sticked out that you were able to communicate the value proposition of something that you actually have not yet done. So the product is not there yet, but you could already talk about the value you can create. And it wasn't very hard to imagine that that value is very critical for the industries that you want to target. And hence that there is quite a market potential for your solutions. So I think that was quite a strong topic for you, and also hearing about your backgrounds and how they all combine together, quite good for the stage of the company, is also a strong point. And yeah, to repeat it also a little bit, the innovation is definitely here. So it's a very innovative product as well, which is also important for us. So really wish you good luck.
Also from my side, the most impressive stuff was actually the technology itself, and it has a big impact, or will have a big impact in the future. We are a perfect team. There's still some things missing, like the business development, but for the rest, I think it's innovative. See how to get to the TRL9. And I think that will be the most interesting part, as this is really brand new technology and will be expensive. It will cost a lot of money and energy. But if you will do it, it will be really perfect.
Thank you so much.
I just want to say one thing about it. Thank you for AllSpace in Berlin. Without this one, we couldn't pitch our idea on screen. And thank you. We met like a couple of times last time. You motivated me. Come on, you can do it. And we met like a couple of times.
Yeah, I remember
yeah,
that. Yes, now it is big. That's true.
Yeah.
And I like the gender balance.
Yeah.
It's the future, hopefully.
Yeah, I had a very good team support, and by my department also they supported a lot and they pushed me.
Cool.
Go on, yeah, from my so much. Yeah, thank you very much.
Sure.
It won't be happen without your guys.
Thank you.
One more small announcement. In our department, we are hosting a quantum technology in CubeSat workshop. So it's a free to register. So we will be guiding more details into CubeSat. So I will keep a flyer for them in the next one. Thank you.
Before I leave, I want to give you some general feedback. So I think I really enjoyed what I see. Yeah, but two things are really important in that early stage for you. Think about how your team setup is. Yeah, and not only stick together with the people you like and you normally work in with university, but think about what kind of skills we need to move forward. Yeah, because when you're standing in front of a jury, yeah, in that really early stage, then you have to convince as a team. Yeah, and if you want to convince me or other jury members, then you do that with your team. Yeah, and having a team spirit, working together as a team, and you have everything in place that will convince us, yeah, yeah, that you're going to succeed whatever you do. Yeah, that is really the essence in a very, very early stage. Yeah, and even if you pivot your idea a couple of times, but if you are going to be a strong team and we believe in you, then this is a very, very big surplus, not only for the jury, but also for your project. And so I think you should present that a little bit more the next time. Focus also on the team, who you are, why you are going to succeed, yeah, why you're going to make that happen. That's important. Thank you.
One more? Thank you very much. Good.
So the active space is officially over, but as I said before, all of you are winners, and we have a winner party on the rooftop, where is beer and snacks. And there are also certificates of achievement for all of you, which will be handed out at the rooftop party. So you're all invited to join us. And again, also thank you very much to our partner, Epitech, with whom we have organized this together. And yeah, see you later on the rooftop. Thank you very much.
Hey guys, we will do also a group photo. Please join. It will be amazing to have you on this photo. It's the first I get on like in space in Berlin. You want to be on this photo.